Wait, where are you? How do we do this?
We're live.
Okay, we're live. Yeah. Hello, everyone. Thank you, those of you that have joined us today for our last Q&A session, so questions and answers for the Responsible Futures program. So we're really happy to have already 13 people online with their burning questions. If you haven't already gone back, we have 2 other live sessions that we've recorded. So one was on Instagram Live and another one was on YouTube as well. And we've posted both of those in our links in the link tree that you can find on our Instagram page. So tonight, I'll introduce myself for those of you that haven't seen me. I'm Andrea Wilkinson, and I'm the Program Director of the Responsible Futures program, the European Erasmus Mundus Joint Masters in Design and Healthcare. Responsible Futures is a program we're really excited about. It's a 2-year program, and it takes place over 3 different countries. So the first country is in Belgium, and then the second semester is in Portugal, and the third semester is with our colleagues at Sheffield Hallam in the UK. And then finally, in the last semester, you choose which semester. So go to our website, response-able-futures.eu. You can find it in the link in the information around this YouTube Live, and check it out and see if it fits you. So we already have a question from It's About Time. Great handle, by the way. Besides my bachelor's degree, if I include information under other qualifications in the application form, should I also attach the additional certificates? That's a good question. I have a question more about what kind of certificates. Are they certificates as in something you would put on your LinkedIn profile? You can list them. Are they qualifications as in a postgraduate somewhere? A year-long certificate in something, then you might want to include your actual certificate. But these are probably some things that we could chase up if necessary. We really wanted to shy away from the idea of having this kind of generic CV that people upload with the classic photo and this kind of layout. I can see it in my head. And try to go for giving you enough space to actually describe what you're doing instead of just putting some icons of the programs that you know. So if you can come back, it's about time, and tell us what kind of certificates that you're meaning, or maybe I've already answered your question. So that was a great question.
While Andrea is reading the next question, I'll introduce myself.
Yes, that's a good idea.
I'm Niels Hendricks. I'm part of Andrea's team. So I will be joining the team that will teach in Belgium for the Responsible Future Master program. Besides that, I'm also the research coordinator at the campus this master program will take place. And I mainly zoom in or focus on participatory design, mainly with people with dementia. That's my main topic.
Yep.
The other question, Andrea.
Yeah, so we've got a question, and you're welcome for making it work in the American time zones. We really tried to find time zones that if you were really motivated, you might wake up or might stay up late for. We've tried to kind of place them that we've had one midday here, late afternoon here, and now here in the evening. So for us, it's after 10 o'clock p.m. It's dark, so hopefully it's probably why we're so bright at the moment because of the light and everything. But great question. What are some of the excursions or events throughout the program? For example, what are we going to be doing? What kind of, how are we going to be engaging with the different community? Do you want to talk a little bit about our kind of approach, how we're going to take that first semester?
Well, I think one of the major things that we are, of course, everything is, we're still working on it, but the main idea is to do a European tour. At least starting from Belgium and going to our neighboring countries. That would be the first thing, to visit a variety of care organizations. So for example, we'll try to find some interesting elderly care centers in Germany, or go to a refugee center in Belgium. And these type of local, diverse organizations is what we are aiming for to visit.
Yeah. And so it will, we will have classes. An example And again, we're speaking specifically from and it's a pity, not a pity, we're actually excited that our colleagues are in different countries, but that's the reason why our other colleagues aren't here with us tonight. And instead of doing these kind of team meetings, we find this a bit much more personable, this kind of question and answer format with YouTube Live. But coming back to this, speaking from this first semester, we're going to work together with the city of Genk, our city in which our school exists, and we're going to work with their the city departments. So looking at how care touches on kind of civic actions, from supporting young people with mental health to supporting newcomers who might not speak the language, to making sure that care at the local hospital is accessible and that people understand how to access the care that they need, to childcare. So those are care. We say healthcare, but we also mean healthcare, and it's quite a broad umbrella. So we will be working directly with them. We'll be off campus a lot of the time, and we will, like Neil said, be going out into the world. And we hope to not only stay here in Belgium, but while students are here, we're going to send you guys out, or maybe potentially go out together and visit neighboring countries, go to the Netherlands, but also meet a diverse. So it's not just about working with elderly people in a care facility, but it's around a range of this. So it should be an experience. It's not going to be formal lectures all the time. Will there be lectures? Of course. Will we have speakers that come in and speak to the public as well as the students that we have? Absolutely, but it won't be this kind of formal, always inside, always sitting behind a desk, always behind your computer, because we have to learn how to communicate and integrate with the community.
So I read the question that Mohammed was asking, and Mohammed is referring to to a portfolio, whether it could be a separate website, and whether there are some criteria for that, like there are criteria for the PDF one.
Yeah. Good question. I would say try to follow the guidelines of the PDF program. So we don't want to land on a website where we have to look for everything. What you could do is, if you have an existing website, you might make an additional tab that says, which basically is a folder on your hosting where it links specifically to the projects that you've identified as being related to the application. But again, very good question. We want to minimize having to click and search and look. And we really want you guys to have kind of orchestrated what we're looking at, and that you've made some decisions. And you've said not, hey, I'm a product designer, look at the thousands of different types of products I've done, from UX design to chairs to physical spaces to logo design. No, hey, these are the 5 projects that I think show you that I'm most relevant, and I can be a part of this project and be a part of this program.
Yeah, indeed. And to summarize, I think, Andrea, what you're saying is it's better to have 5 or 6 relevant projects that you try to contextualize a bit, talk about why do I include this project, why do I want to show you this project, than having 50 different projects in your portfolio. I think that would be the main element, whether it's then a PDF or it's a website. I think that's irrelevant. My take would be that you curate the portfolio.
Yeah.
Michelle, you're asking about the Lab for Living initiative in the 3rd semester. Andrea, that's referring to our colleagues at Sheffield Hallam.
Yeah. So if you go, you should be, I believe, on our website. If you go to Responsible Futures, you can find out more about the various partner organizations or the partner schools. So Sheffield Hallam is the organization or the university in Sheffield in the UK, and they are embedded within the program, and Lab for Living is basically the kind of research component. As we have caring and design research, so I think if you go into our section, you can kind of click away and see all about the research that we're doing and the PhD researchers that are part of our caring and design research cluster. And Lab for Living is really in the same as well. So you kind of brought up a little bit. We've been working with them for a long time. They're more probably specialized in creation of actual products and working together. They have some really close relationships to some hospitals and also obviously the NHS, which was one of the reasons we were kind of really excited about being involved with them. And so they're hoping also there as part of this kind of Lab for Living integrated semester at Sheffield Hallam, that you will be going out and working with these organizations in and around Sheffield as well.
I see a question from Aiden Morales. That's a bit technical. I think that's your cup of tea. About I think the main element would be the amount of credits.
But I'll just come, Aiden, that's a really good question. And I would send that question to response-able-futures. Maybe someone can stick it in the chat. I think maybe we have a colleague, I think my colleague Floris is on there. If he can put that in the chat, send that specific question. This idea of credits means different things in different countries. And so what we call the European Credit Transfer System, ECTS, has 160 credits. But for instance, I'm working on a project with India and they have a different system. In the UK, they have a different system. Also in the US, they have a different system. So it might be, it's kind of weird that you have 161 credits. So this might be just a technical thing, but as it is a 4-year degree, also it depends on where you're studying. Is it a liberal arts program, like the kind of format in the States where you're also studying different things as well? That's typically fine. So it doesn't mean that you have to have 3 or 4 years only specialized in industrial design, but that's a very good question. So I can't answer it specifically now, but if you go that route, we'll try to, in the next couple of weeks, let you know some feedback on that. So thank you for that.
I think Isabella's question is a bit similar, asking about the fact that her English language test results are not there yet, and whether it would be possible to upload them later.
Yes, that's a really good question. Also because just to go further in there, I've had some people contact me about them already doing, and they're enrolled currently in an English language program with the intention that they'll have a B1 or a B2, I can't remember off the top, please, C1. Don't hold me to the right letter at the moment because I'm not on the website, but they're enrolled in that with the idea that at the end of the session that they, or at the end of this course, they will get the right results. I suggested that they get a letter from the school saying, hey, this is when the program started, this is when it ends, this is the routine. Typically students will have the right results. The IELTS is quite an expensive thing. So we also have students who are applying that have the, normally you have to have proof that is quite recent. So within the last 2 years, you've taken the test. And so some have uploaded their old test. And then if they are invited to, if they receive a yes and they're invited to enroll, then they will take it again. And then, and maybe they don't take that format. Maybe they do. Duolingo also has a much more affordable test. So look at the different options. There's different options, and we have again tried to make it as open as possible. Yeah, so that's kind of an answer. I hope that that's okay.
Yeah. And all the details are also at the website under proof of English proficiency. You can find all the details about that as well.
Yeah. So just, you haven't had your results yet. I also had someone else, just coming back to the English language requirement. So someone else has said, wow, I did a test and it was a lot harder. I think my English is great, but the test was a little bit more difficult. Then you might take another test from another one. You know, I'm conceptually speaking, they should all be the same, but put a little bit in effort in and seeing which test kind of suits your testing style as well.
Khamisha Imam has a question about, by the way, 3 a.m. in Bangladesh. Yes, that's, thank you for being here. Yeah, thank you for being here. How detailed should the project descriptions be? We talked about it at the beginning. So I think try to understand that the one reviewing it is reviewing a lot of work. They're reviewing a lot of students. So I think try to make sure that whenever you get straight to the core of what you're wanting to say. So Do you want to show your passion for a specific topic? Then make sure that is the core message of your description. We do not want to read, for example, for a project like a one-pager. That would be too long. So I would always suggest to make it a couple of lines for each of the different projects you want to share. A couple of lines should be enough, in my opinion.
Yep.
And you're also saying, Misha, that you're written in a semi-formal tone. I would say that whatever suits you would be okay.
Yeah.
I mean, some applicants will write in a very formal tone, which is great, but some will write in a more less formal tone. So I think that would be fine. As long as you feel comfortable with it, then use that tone of voice.
Absolutely. This is a good question. When it's time for mobility, do the cohort move together, or is each student booking trains, flights individually? Fantastic question. It is up to the student to organize their own mobility. So there is no financial support to get here. So those of you that will receive the Erasmus Plus scholarship, that also includes so it covers tuition, but also a stipend of 1,400 euros per month. That only starts once you have arrived. And so that doesn't support you getting here, but it starts once you arrive. Then you are responsible for paying your rent, the food that you eat, and this mobility. There will be mobility, and I speak certainly from the first semester, that will be funded. So we don't say, hey, we're going to Germany and expect you guys to pay for that. So if it's a part of our lessons, that will be included. There will also be some additional Erasmus mobility funds to support 2 students in mobility, and that's a certain relationship that we have as part of the Erasmus program together with us and the University of Aveiro, but that's too much detail for later. I'm assuming that sometimes students actually make some friends in this. I'm assuming they will make some friends in this first one, and they say, hey, I found a Ryanair flight and it's this much. This is when I'm leaving, and you put it in the WhatsApp group and everyone goes, yes, boom, 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 boom. So I'm assuming that kind of happens, but formally you are not moving together, but you do move together. So you school end, let's say, on the 31st of December, and then on the 1st of February, you guys are expected to be in Portugal at the University of Aveiro. People will meet you there. You'll know where you're supposed to be. There'll be an introduction moment. You'll meet the students that are already working there, and it should be something like that. And the same once students go to the UK as well. I hope that answered your question. Floris, just in terms of the email, I'm not sure the email worked. Maybe it doesn't work on YouTube when you're live streaming to put in extra links. I have no idea. Maybe try it again. It just says Zend.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Patrick has a question. Patrick, we would advise you to send this question to our email address, which is
response-able-futures.edu. Not edu, EU. Oh man,
it's evening.
If you go to the website, you will find it at the bottom in the classic kind of social media links. I believe it's also in terms of Instagram. It's also so it is. We've just checked. It's on the website at the bottom.
At the bottom on your right.
Patrick, just coming back again. You got a bachelor's degree or you have a master's degree. That is typically enough. So again, in the Philippines, it's 143 credits. This is something I cannot answer you at the moment, but if you're worried about that, certainly send in your documentation. We'll have someone in admissions take a look at that for you.
Michelle is asking about the collaboration with real organizations, whether we have some details and whether they can choose as a student which projects to be involved in.
So maybe Niels can talk a little bit about how we will do, or how we typically do the project on dementia, in the past.
Yeah, so this is just one specific example of how we work. Well, we have done quite some.
Sorry.
No worries. We've done quite some work on working with people with dementia, Alzheimer. And what we typically do, we tend not to be distant from the people we're working with, but we really want to integrate and embed in the places where these people are taken care of. So typically in the past, and what we're also aiming for to do with you, is to go to a elderly care center or care residence where people with dementia are living and taken care of. And in that place, we will have a lot of interaction, contact with them, and we will also do some workshops and create objects or whatnot that will be relevant for the people with dementia. So this is a typical thing where we will go to an actual organization, invite experts from other organizations, local organizations, to support, coach, and aid you in your design and research work that we're doing. So that would be a specific example of how we would do it in the dementia case.
But just jumping in on that. So the example that we're talking about in the past, one of my PhD is actually on designing for one. And so we really encourage people to get as close as possible. And so I know that for some students, this will be quite a new way of working, and not every project will be designing for an individual. We know as designers, also as researchers, we get a lot out of that, but it's not necessarily applicable for every to design only like that in the world. But this will be different because in the past we've been working with students who speak Dutch, and they're working with people with dementia, even some that can no longer speak, but their language was Dutch. The care team is Dutch speaking. So we will be looking for other ways to work in the participatory way that we work, but with this international cohort of students. And that's not impossible. And we've done it before. We've done it with different projects, but that just gives you an idea of an example for how we work. You had a second part of the question, can we choose what projects to be involved in? And I just want to go back. I know in the second semester, there will be some choice. They have some electives. They've actually put that, if you go to the website and look at the curriculum page, you can see at University of Aveiro, they specifically want to offer electives also in terms of what media you will use, what kind of skill set that you have. So they will be working also almost exclusively, I think, project and organization based. So you will have some opportunities to make some decisions there. And then the last part of your question, can we choose what projects to be involved in? Certainly for your final semester, that is your project. That is you being in the world, responding to a need that you identify, and we support you in doing the best that you can within there. Can you work with an organization back home? Absolutely. Can you work for an organization that is local here? For sure. The idea is that, if we have 21 students, 7 students would be in the UK, 7 students would be here, 7 students would be in Aveiro. I know that's a bit idealistic, but it will be some sort of kind of balance like that to not overload one school completely. But we want to make it possible for you to work as closely with the people that the thing that you're making, the product or the service that you're making, work as closely with the organization and the end users or the people that will come in contact with what you're making as possible.
And then Brenda is asking a question about class schedule, and more specifically whether there is time to work remotely for companies back home maybe, while also being a master's student.
That is, Brenda, that is a very good question. And I think I'm going to be honest with you that this might be something that if you apply and you become one of these students, one of the cohort that is working remotely while you're a master's student, that would be something that we also talk to you later on to say, hey, how was it? What is there ways that we could organize ourselves to support you? I know in the third semester, it's a little bit more hands-off. You have a little bit more time because don't forget, at the beginning, we're taking this first semester as really, it's our goal and our job as a school to fill your heads and support you, and also make sure that you're a team that works together, that you have the space and the kind of safety to be critical and support each other and ask questions of each other and give good feedback and be able to take good feedback and work together and support. So we have a particular thing, how we're going to work. And we do know, because we have colleagues that run Erasmus Mundus Joint Masters at our school, that is one of the first things when I went around and talked to all of the directors individually, they all said, make sure there's enough room for students to also be. And I think part of that being is working in the case that Brenda just mentioned, working and being able to contribute to things that you're freelance. Can you have a full-time job and be a full-time student when we're doing these trips, when we're doing service learning out in the city, when we're having evening guest lectures with public? I'm not sure you could have a full-time job. But
I think, I mean, to be very honest, I think is an intense program.
Yeah.
Indeed, that full-time job, I think also that won't be feasible to combine it with such an intense program. And as Andrea is also saying, there's also part of the experience, which means that it's not only about being in class from 9 to 5, which will not happen. Well, it might happen someday because there is an interesting workshop and a lecture, but it's also about having the experience of meeting people from all around the world, and also trying to meet all these organizations, connect to all these local organizations or other organizations in Europe. I think that's also something that where you will want to invest time in. And then, of course, it's always a personal of finding your balance between working maybe remotely and having those experiences next to classwork.
Yeah, because don't underestimate, and I've tried to put this, in my LinkedIn posts, and my LinkedIn posts are really aimed at a different kind of, it's fellow design educators, it's people in the industry, it's people in organizations, in terms of kind of recruiting students. It has to be also the right kind of student that's up for that challenge to come here. It asks a lot of effort. I'm originally from the States. I've lived and worked in Belgium or abroad for the last 23 years. I also lived in New Zealand. I know what it's like to, and many of the colleagues that you have know this as well, or the other teachers, what it's like to leave your home, come to another place, and then 6 months later, you're somewhere else. And then 6 months later, you're somewhere else. That asks a lot. So it requires this kind of teamwork and camaraderie that we're hoping to create in these cohorts. And I hear that, and you see that in the other Erasmus Mundus Joint Masters program. If you follow SDSI, so that's, I consider them our kind of sister program up in Northern Europe in service design. You see that, the other day they were having kind of dancing lessons at night because someone had a special skill in that. So they're making the space to do the work, to be students, but also have the experience. So sorry, we got a little bit distracted on that, but I hope, Brenda, that we answered your question there.
Rising Lai asks about whether you should include a CV in the portfolio.
We had some questions about, if we have 10 pages in our portfolio, should we have a table of contents? My gut says no. Can you have 11 pages? My gut says, of course. I don't think we're trying to create some kind of reference points for what we're requesting from people. So if you think it's really important that we have that particular information about you, we have tried to create a space for the CV by including spaces where, what kind of volunteer work have you been doing? What kind of hobbies do you do? What other kind of certificates do you have? What other qualifications? What other kind of jobs have you had? So if you look in the application, and maybe some of you have actually not looked through the Dream Apply, hop on the link, click on our website, hit apply. I think it's called apply at the top. Let's see at the top. Yes, apply now. And that takes you to a Dream Apply platform, and fill it in and just walk through. It's a really kind of straightforward process where you fill something in, you click. Don't worry, when you do something, it saves. You don't have to upload again. You can come back to it. We will send you a lot of reminders in the coming weeks to finish your application. Don't forget, February 6th at 11 a.m. Belgian time. So I would put in your calendar the 5th of February, aim to have your application in by then. So hopefully I answered your question, or we answered your question, Rising.
And then Misha Imam asks about including animation references, and would 3 videos be too much? Again, I think going back to the question on portfolio, make it relevant. Do try to get into the heads of the reviewers who are reviewing a lot of applications, as you realize. And so if you're asking, is 3, is 5, is 2 okay? Maybe I'm answering similar as you did with the pages. Think about what is relevant, and think about the fact that no one wants to scroll or watch 10 animations or wants to scroll through 50 pages, because that is too much. So try to be relevant and select the projects, whether it's an animation or something else, that are relevant for your work.
Yeah. And if you're an animator, for instance, and you have one project is about sexual health, and another project is an interface design, and another project is a personal project, that's 3 completely distinct, probably, styles that you're using. So again, think about, are you only showing the same thing and showing us that you can do one skill really well, or are you trying to show the diversity, what you're interested in as well? Ramisha, yeah.
You're also asking about some support for assistance with the visa process. Yes, there is some support in this. But of course, we understand that there's quite some work from your side as well. But there is some support, because we already have, at least at our campus, which is the first campus you would be in, we have some experience with 2 other joint masters that are ongoing at this point. So we can give you some support in that process.
The next question, is it only about product design? Absolutely not. When you land on the Dream Apply platform to actually apply for the program, our school is under, or our semester is under the product design department. I think in Sheffield Hallam, it might potentially be under industrial design, even maybe, and in Aveiro, I believe it's under communication design. So we're bringing together all these different, if you notice a key word in there, it's design. So it won't only be formal product design, but if those of you who are product designers well know, product design, what it means in 2025 is not what it meant in 2020, is not what it meant in 1995. Product design is changing. Products can be services, products can be digital things, products can be on a screen, products can also be physical objects as well. So there will be workshops, there will be lectures, there will be actions, there will be moments when we're out in the street, there will be design research. It will not be just this formal kind of setting of we're doing product design now. Yeah.
Isabella, you're asking also about financial aid other than Erasmus for Latin American students. I cannot, well, maybe Andrea can, but I cannot say that there is any specific support. But I do realize that some countries have specific support. For example, we know someone who reposted the messages from response-able-futures, who lives or used to live in Taiwan, was indicating that there was specific support from the Taiwanese government when someone is accepted to this program, on top of the existing Erasmus support. So it might be good to go to a national contact point and ask that question, or to a national, how would you say that? Yeah, can you get that information? It might be good to check that in your national.
And I know that there's someone, and I believe they follow us. There's a woman who is specifically all about the Central America, South America, and Erasmus Mundus Joint Masters program. And I believe they follow us. Isabella, send that question to me or via either in the messages of Instagram, but probably go back to so if you find the email address at the very bottom of the website, you can see, we'll see what we can find. Probably one of the best opportunities is to reach out to other people who have done an Erasmus Mundus if you know them. I will just, on this note, in terms of the scholarships, we can't offer 21 scholarships to 21 people from Colombia, for instance. So in the scholarship, in this kind of how we designate the scholarships, we have to also spread the scholarships, whatever scholarships that we offer, we have to spread those scholarships around the world as well. So that's also something important to know. But there are opportunities, like I said, we have some internal to support mobility. Does it fund the tuition? No, we have, just coming back and reminding people what we mean, 5,000 euros per semester. So a master's degree in Europe, 3 countries over 2 years with some really amazing opportunities that we have with some really good schools. I'm not bragging about us, but I'm talking about, we're excited about this, and we're going to bring in some really cool people that will lead master classes. 10,000 euros. So we've tried to pitch it to where it's affordable. Is it affordable to everyone? Absolutely not. We understand that. And that is why Europe creates these scholarships to support students wanting to further their education and who do not have the financial means.
Shutong Pan is asking about what facilities for physical prototyping are available. Yeah, good question. I must say I can only talk about our Belgian campus, so the campus you will arrive first.
But all are very similar. I've seen them.
Both in Sheffield, in Sheffield as well as in Aveiro, they have very similar machinery. So what we have in Belgium, we have a fabrication laboratory, a fab lab, with all things you can expect from a fab lab. 3D printing, 3D scanning. There is a wood and metal workshop. We have a gantry mill as well, large gantry mill, yeah. Well, that's a technical term, and I hope I know it in Dutch, but not in English. And so there is quite some, there are spaces to do this physical work as well. There is quite some machinery. It's typical to a fab lab, but also to more, other forms of physical prototyping. There's also a plastic molding machine. I don't know how to say, again, I can't translate it in English as well as it should be. So there is some technology available. This also goes for digital tools such as AR, XR tools are also available on campus.
And I think some of these things, if we know in advance what people, I will say, I think Sheffield Hallam, because I believe they're under industrial design, they have slightly more technical things that maybe go beyond in the University of Aveiro, but we all have access to other organizations that can also support. So you're not limited to just the tools that we have. For instance, the Aveiro, when we did that workshop over at the other building, they had amazing facilities there, and it was a brand new kind of building off campus specifically for design research and prototyping.
And maybe also good to know, in Genk we also have photo studios, film studios, also all this animation studios. All this material can also
sound studios.
Yeah, true. And this can also be, like, cameras can also be rented from the academy as well.
So the question, Mohammed, specifically, is the scholarship meant to be given to everyone from all over the world, or has it limitations for people in some countries? I believe there may be one limitation for Belarus or something, but Niels is going to Google that right now. Just look up Erasmus Mundus Joint Master Scholarship. Again, this is a good question. If you are concerned about that, I would put that in an email and send it to my colleague. The email address is at the bottom of the page on our website. There used to be some limitations. So there used to be a limitation, and make sure you're hearing me, used to. This is new this year. So if you know colleagues who have done it or friends who have done Erasmus Mundus in the past, if, for instance, you were a Belgian student and you were applying for the Erasmus Mundus Joint Masters, you could not get a scholarship for the semester that you were in Belgium. That is no longer the case. And that is linked to the mobility and our mobility, provided that you go from Belgium to Aveiro, from Aveiro to Sheffield Hallam, you're being mobile. And that is really what the European Union wants and expects from such a program. They're excited about supporting programs where students get out of their comfort zone and into other contexts and learn about other cultures and how other people operate and do things. So there is not any specific limitation for people in some countries, all ages. So I once got a question, hey, I'm a little bit older, I didn't graduate yesterday. So I would be a slightly more non-traditional student in the trajectory. That's fine. Have you been working for several years in industry, or did you just graduate, or are you just going to graduate in May or June this year? That is okay. We want to make sure, again, if you're currently studying, you can absolutely apply. And again, kind of like the English language requirements, what we were talking about, you would upload and you would get from your school a provisional certificate that shows, and a provisional transcript that shows that you will most likely graduate at a particular time. Niels is still looking up the question about any, I believe there are no limitations, but he's looking specifically. I think there are some countries that can't host Erasmus Mundus, but I think in terms of the scholarships, it's open pretty much to everyone in the world. Okay. What types of, Michelle has a question, what types of research projects can I pursue in the master's program within the healthcare field? In my situation, a significant part of my interests are aligned with well-being and nutrition. Great. The types of research topics, we might have instances where a local organization comes to us and says, hey, we would really like one of your master's students to work on this topic. If a master's student says, wow, that topic really resonates with me and I want to do it, maybe that's a great project. Is it more that we do want students to have, as part of that process, they need to do research. They need to find organizations. They need to find experts. They need to come into contact to where they go in depth into that topic. Do you already have to be in depth and know everything about that topic? Absolutely not. So I hope that helps you. The topics will be very diverse. And if you ask me a year from now, or sorry, two years from now, maybe I'll have better idea about what the kind of topics. But for instance, give us just a taster of the range of the product design students that we have, for instance.
What type of topics they work on? From supporting sexual experiences for someone with a disability to working with people who are confined to a wheelchair and have difficulties, children who are confined to a wheelchair, difficulties to move, and how can we support their wheelchair in a better way to express also their identity. To
objects that support people who have migraines and trying to make provide different access to a quicker, more speedy reaction to migraines, to Cato's project with
about critical that led to critical artifacts on how we deal with the sun, and that the sun is something that is linked to beauty, but also to some sort of danger, so to say, because you can get sunburn, skin cancer, and so on. But it's also seen as a thing to, of enjoyment, of pleasure, and how do we deal with that? So, as you can see, the range is quite big.
To the coffin. I mean, or the.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's another example.
Yeah, that's a very nice.
And also under care, I believe.
How to create rituals on. Humanization. Well.
When you decompose?
When you when you die, how to you can bury, you can burn. There may be some other forms of doing it, but one of the forms that people are looking into is also that someone is not in a coffin, but brought back to the land and given back to the land, and then you decompose at one point. But we see this as a procedure that people are interested in, but we lack the rituals, we lack an aesthetic experience. when this ritual is being organized. So this was one of the topics as well where master students in product design were looking into.
So those are just examples for not responsible futures. So responsible futures is starting. So this we will have some growing pains. This was starting. We will collaborate together. This is not something that we do completely top down. This is a communal effort that we're trying to really get this program off the ground. But that just shows you here in Belgium, underneath the product design masters of students studying at Lucas School of Arts, the range of projects that I think resonate a little bit with responsible futures. Okay.
Lucas Motta has another question on the use of participatory design. Lucas, and what type of skills that are needed. I must say, for those of you who do not know, participatory design is the idea that you collaborate with the ones you design for, and right from the start, or preferably from the start of your design process. And maybe good to know, because recently there's the second handbook of participatory design is published, and we're in it. So we have a case study in it on our work that we did in healthcare and participatory design. So we're quite familiar with the different ideas and concepts of participatory design. If you're asking me what specific skill do I need, I would say, well, there is no specific skill. That's something I think that is also in our interest to use participatory design together with you in some of the projects that we will tackle. But I think if you have any experience, then I would always welcome you to bring it with you. But I wouldn't say that there is a specific skill that we need when we're talking about participatory design projects.
But we love that you already have touched on that and you see the relevance of it, because that's also something in terms of bringing in your experience, and someone else a little bit later says, I've got 3 years of experience researching VR technology and integrating that into neurocare. Great. You're already going to step in and hopefully share what you know and your processes and the tools that you're using, the technologies, the research that you're doing. And again, that just adds value to the program in terms of the experiences that you have already within industry or design research. I just want to circle back and maybe going back to Patrick's, just this is a lighter question. Why is the program called Responsible Futures? Well, good question. It's really too long. Probably if we had to do it all over again, you'll start seeing ResFut. ResFut. I'm starting to email people about ResFut. I've used that term for a really long time, the ability for designers to respond. And I think I come from a graphic design background, and where we didn't have participatory design when we were working with students in design education. It was about learning a skill, learning a program, being able to be spat out into industry with the skills that would enable them to work for a client and create things and convince people to use a product, typically, especially if you looked at advertising or, graphics, sometimes informational graphics or environmental graphics. There are other things that designers can do, and we still get to use all those skills. And certainly within design education, it's really interesting to, we still cover all those bases, certainly in a bachelor's program. Master's is different, but we still cover all those bases, but we're using those skills to a different end, a different means. So the ability, providing students with the skills or the framework, the reflection to respond to the needs that they see, and kind of help shape the future that they want to live in.
I might come back to a question that was asked previously about the eligibility criteria of students coming from specific countries. As far as I understand, there are no exclusion criteria. The exclusion is made on the level of participating organizations. Okay, so not individuals,
and that's
but
participating. Belarus, right?
And that's Belarus and the Russian Federation.
Yeah.
Organizations from Belarus and the Russian Federation cannot join joint masters, but individuals who want to apply for being part of the program, you can.
Yeah. How does the program envision the future of its students after completing it? you want to take that one, Niels?
No. You can take that.
That is a very, I mean, I think we will be including people coming in and doing workshops or guest lectures on designing policy. We will have some that are coming in talking specifically about how to look at healthcare systems and the role of design with it. We will have people coming in and doing courses specifically on looking at design as a service, and how can you look at existing services and make them more accessible, more integrated, more relevant.
Yeah.
We will be looking at products. There again, you will find your niche in there. You might come up against a new skill or a new topic or a new kind of genre of design throughout the program that really resonates with the existing practice that you have. Doesn't mean that you enter a product designer and then at the end you enter or exit as a product designer having made some projects in care. Maybe not. Maybe you pick up one of these skills and in that master's semester, in this master's 2 years, that you refine your skills more in a particular direction. And whether that means stepping back into industry, whether that means starting a startup around a healthcare application, whether that means working with local government, whether that means, oh, I love design research and I want to be a design researcher and do a PhD. Who knows? What were you gonna say?
I wanted to give example. You already gave some of the examples I wanted to give.
Add some more.
But no, but indeed, I think it can be very diverse. I mean, it can be very open and diverse. And with some people, I would see some people staying in Europe because they connected to a local organization and because the organization was enthusiastic about their work and they started working there. But I see some students as well going back to their home countries and then trying to be some change makers over there, try to support the change that is already ongoing, or they are starting some new change in that country, and that can be as an individual designer starting working as a design bureau, so to say, or maybe they're embedded in different organizations like policy administrations where they change the policy, because design, indeed, as you all are also referring to, it's not only about the physical artifacts, it's also about processes, about ideas, about how do you design services. So yeah, maybe that was similar as you answered. Yeah. And let's see. Let's go for another question. I think you already answered Yahya Muhammad's question about VR technology and neurocare, which of course we would welcome this type of the diversity of work as well, and diversity of backgrounds, because we are aiming for having a lot of moments where you also share your own experience, your own work with other students. I think that is one of the intentions as well, as if you read about the ideas behind the Joint Masters, of having students from different backgrounds and ideas and expertise to share this with other students as well. So I think that would be an interesting take.
And that makes me think we have a local university here, the University of Hasselt, and they have some people that are experts in stroke rehabilitation, and they're really interested in VR technology and integrating that in the local hospital. I mean, there's all these different, some of this we can't know how this will form, and this is one of the reasons why we specifically have made this program to be so flexible, because we can respond to new technologies. We can respond to cohorts of students that have particular interesting needs, or all come from a shared particular background. So we will also try to match some of the master classes also to the needs of the students that are coming in.
I think the next question and the last question I think that would be a good thing for you to answer too, because it's about how I would say about the diversity of the student population this question is about. And then also there's another question about how diverse the student program will be.
Which one is that specifically?
This one, how diverse will the Responsible Future program be? And then there's another question about what countries students come from, I think that's also a question, and also about maybe also answering the second element of that question, asking about a relationship for learning with locals in their short stay. We, at least from Belgium, we're aiming for service learning opportunities where you would be embedded in for a short time in local organizations. Apart from the fact that we also want to bring in local organizations in our classes or workshops, or how you might call it, we will also want to send you out to some local organizations to understand the way they work, learn from it, support them maybe in their ideas or their questions they have. So that is definitely part of our program. Maybe about the diversity, Andrea, what are your expectations? Maybe you can share a bit about the number of countries that are already applying.
In terms of people who are actively creating an application, so we already have, and don't let these numbers frighten you. These numbers should encourage you to work hard on your application, I suppose. But we're really excited that we have around 300 people so far working on an application on the portal. Already about 50 to 60 have submitted their application. Are all of them designers? No. I think that's kind of a logical step with the Erasmus Mundus Joint Masters. I think some people are somewhere around the world, they see healthcare and they say, this must be relevant for me because I have a degree in a health-related discipline. Then they haven't necessarily taken the time to kind of read what the program is all about. So again, this is a program for designers, but in terms of the spread of the application, whoever asked the question about diversity, this is going to be the most diverse group of students I've ever worked with. We're going to get help on that because we understand that. Thankfully, I've been working for 6 years in a very diverse setting as well, to where it's half international and half kind of local Flemish or Belgian speaking or European students. So I have some experience there, but we're going to really look at reflecting on this international aspect, and we really want to make sure we do that well. And so at this point in time, I think, what did I tell you? Over 70 countries are represented at the moment in the applications. 70 countries. So maybe we will have 21 students from 21 different countries. Who knows? We probably will not have 10 students from one country and the rest are from somewhere else. It will be a very diverse cohort. It will be a situation where there will be students who are stepping out of their comfort zones. Will we have students who have different belief systems than what some other students have? Absolutely. Will we have students that have different views on gay and lesbian, LGBTQ plus feelings? Yes. Will we have different? We will have a lot of diversity, and we are going to integrate. We're going to welcome that diversity, and hopefully come up ways to embrace that diversity and make it added value instead of kind of separating us or dividing us.
How many hours of classes would there be in a week? That's a challenging question. Let's say how we have organized it now in the existing product design department is what you see is that sometimes there will be students will be having a lecture in the morning, then there is a workshop in the afternoon. So it means, and there's some time in between for some group work. So that would be a 9 to 5 day. But then the next day, there's only 1 hour feedback session planned, for example. So I think that, and then maybe a week afterwards, there is a visit to a local company, and the next day a visit to some cultural organizations. So do you see? So it's quite diverse. So we will not be able to say like, okay, you will have X number of hours per week every week, and it will be the same for every week. It will be a bit. It will change throughout the course of the semester.
And it will change from semester to semester as well, yes. Because I believe in the second semester at the University of Aveiro, the students will integrate into their existing design communication design with an emphasis in care, I think is maybe how it's integrated,
Mm.
but you will be integrating into existing. So it might be a little bit more classrooms, but then you actually are, or a more rigorous or kind of controlled schedule, but then you're working with, you'll get to know another 20 students who are probably come from Portugal or who are excited about meeting people who are coming from all around the world. So yeah, if I think about the other program that I work on in the postgraduate space and service design, that program is Monday, Tuesday, Thursday are pretty much full working days. And then you have some days where you can work as a team, but also facilitate working or having a part-time job. Yeah.
Experience in interface design. I think, I mean, Goyan Radeski is asking the questions. Asking the question? I will open up your question a bit, Goyan, about your questions. In fact, when I have a specific experience in a specific element of design, will I be able to deepen it, or will I go more on a higher level, on a meta level, to reflect together, because all the others in my group all the others in the cohort of students are not in my specific expertise. And I think I would say that there are, well, two opportunities for that. On the one hand, I think we will have modules or projects, or how you might call it, where you are able to deepen or go deeper into that experience and really use that experience to your benefit. But on the other hand, I do think we will also have modules, projects, where you are asked to not leave it behind, but go beyond your experience that you already have in that specific field of specific type of design. So bringing
just jumping on that, there will be team-based projects, so you will work in teams sometimes, and you will have, certainly in that, again, thinking about that final project, and that will be something that you're reflecting on kind of throughout the whole course. What am I going to do in that final semester? What am I going to achieve? What do I want to go deep into interface design or UX design, or extend that to kind of services? Is it just about the functionality, or is it really about the functionality and use? Is it about creating high fidelity prototypes and testing? These are all things that come on board. Where do you want to go afterwards? What kind of stuff do you want to have in that portfolio, or in that kind of backpack that you have after you have graduated? What do you want to show? So yeah, I think hopefully we've answered your question.
This last question: when will the interviews take place, and when will the decision be released? I mean, we're also almost at the end of our Q&A, I think. So that's a good
question, and we'll answer this one. And if someone, a new person or whatever, has a final burning question, if not, we'll have Michelle be the last question. And if we haven't answered one of your questions and you have a question, just put it in the comments or send a message, or info@responsible-futures.eu. The email address is on the website. So when will the interviews take place? The interviews will take place. Can you bring up a calendar? I think it's and I know the week, but he's going to bring up a calendar.
It's in March?
Yes, about the middle of March.
Yes, the week of the 17th.
Yeah. And so in February, once the applications close on, again, I would aim towards the 5th, but when they close on the 6th at 11 a.m. Belgian time, Central European time, use time and dates, Google it, and you'll find out exactly what relevant time that is, but aim for the 5th, I would say. Anyway, once we have that, we're going to go through and make a selection. So the following 2 weeks after that will be a selection process. Then we will start informing candidates. So by the end of February, I would say most candidates, if you have been invited for an interview, you will be told. We will also, at that point in time, tell those candidates who are not invited for an interview that they have not been accepted. Does that mean that you can't apply in the future? You can absolutely apply in the future. We will also, at that moment in time, to those who are not accepted, we will be also offering some suggestions. Potentially, if you're really motivated and you want to study in Europe, we are also have colleagues that work at other schools that will be sending you some suggestions, because there's still enough time to apply to other ones as well. But end of February, typically you will know, because there needs to be some time, because on the week of the 17th of March is the interview week. It will take place, I believe, on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and maybe potentially Monday afternoon. A lot of interviews. I think what we're aiming at interviewing around 50 people, the 50 candidates, and then we will make the decision of the final 21 applicants and a short list for people that are on backup. We will have that list by the Friday. Then that will go through a process of confirming all the documentation. Actually, I think the documentation will be confirmed before on the forehand. So once we make the selection of 50, then the school goes through and makes sure that they have the right documentation. Are they missing things, et cetera, et cetera. But then by the end of March, I believe those students that are accepted or invited to become a part of and start the visa process, if necessary, those students will know by the end of March. So. Which should give enough time. There was another question, I think we skipped over it, that should give enough time to apply for visas. And that's specifically why we have timed it in that way, to give you enough time to apply. I think it was someone from Bangladesh who said it's really difficult. And yes, there is support for that in terms of what are the following steps.
Lucas is asking also a question about how the program will build a diverse network of designers. I must say, at least, I think that is one of the, if you're looking at the applicants, that's one of the challenging questions, I think, that we will bring in that diversity, not only geographically diversity, but also different types of design, I would say, different backgrounds, different expertise, and try to bring that together. That is one of the elements that we have done these type of exercises before, for example, for doctoral networks that we have also built together, where we did some trainings to make sure that we will come across the most diverse group and the best candidates, let's say it like this, a combination of these two elements. So we hope to bring that experience from the doctoral networks to this exercise as well.
And we're also a diverse committee of people who will be selecting. So, I'm from the States, Niels is from Belgium. You have a different background from me. I'm a designer. Your background is?
In literature and communication sciences.
Yeah, he's a design researcher as well. Our colleagues in Sheffield Hallam also have a diverse background. One is also from South America. One is from the UK, also diverse background. Same in University of Aveiro, although I think that they're mostly Portuguese. But also not only industrial design or product design, but also graphic design. So we're a diverse group of people as well. And so we will be we have no fear for a diverse group of students as well.
And Lucas also asking whether you will keep up your promotional campaign on the dates, for example. And again, the deadlines will be repeated indeed on Instagram and other channels as well. This will happen in the coming days. You'll already see some warnings on Instagram and LinkedIn as well, I think, and Facebook, in order to remind you about the deadline. But that will happen as well.
Just in terms of your question, Lucas, there's one thing I will put when the interviews are maybe on the website. If I remember that tomorrow, I'll try to maybe add that to the website. The selection, because we're not sure about the number of candidates. I don't want to tie any specific date. So again, loosely, I would believe by the beginning of March, the end of February, those who are moving into the second round and invited for an interview should know, simply because they need to have time to be able to fit that into your schedule. We will have in that interview schedule, we will have times that hopefully suit the diversity as well. So we don't want all students having to wake up at 3 a.m. to have an interview. So we will try over the course of that week to factor in where you are. And this is, again, one of the reasons why I can't say maybe we have to move some to a different week or whatever, but that is the indication. The intention is the week of the 17th of March is the interview week. So.
Okay, Andrea, it's
time.
It's time, indeed.
Yeah, so thank you to everyone who participated. And again, encourage your friends and your colleagues, tell your design educators about it. We're really looking forward to receiving all these applications. So thank you for your participation. If there's questions, send a question to my colleague Floris at info@responsible-futures.eu. And
good luck with your applications as well.
And we hope to see some of you also in a live stream in the coming months. All right. Thank you so much. Bye.